Today we begin a two-part series on serial killer Hadden Clark. Hadden's story is unlike any other serial killer we've ever covered. In part 1, we'll take a look at his abusive upbringing and how it would steer and affect the rest of his life. We'll also discuss a murder his older brother committed, and then detail Hadden's first known killing. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. What do hometown hero Michael Simon, Chef Anthony Bourdain, and a serial killer have in common? Stick around. Tonight, you might just find out. This is Necronomipod.
The most infamous of the bunch is probably dissociative identity disorder. This has long been known as multiple personality disorder, and yes, it is a thing. It's a rare and flashy disorder in which a person exhibits two or more distinct and alternating identities. Some people question if dissociative identity disorder is an actual disorder at all. But some studies have shown distinct body and brain states that seem to appear in different identities. Things like one personality being right-handed while the other is left-handed, or different personalities having variations in their eyesight that ophthalmologists could actually detect. In these cases, dissociations of identity may be in response to stress or anxiety, a sort of extreme coping mechanism. Either way, the debate and the research continue.
Well, guys, it's back to the old sound of the pop top.
Keg died.
Those of you who are patrons are aware of the tragedy that occurred this past week.
Mid-show,
while recording The Lost Colony of Roanoke, we lost our keg of beer.
It was a life well lived, though. It served its purpose. It provided lots of foamy mugs of beer.
Endless goodness.
Sometimes too much foam when Mike was pouring them.
I'm not in charge. I can't be responsible for that. There's not even like a little fucking pump gimmick. Either way, we tapped the keg, the first Necronomicon of many. There'll be many to come. Maybe at some point we'll start saving the kegs and signing them and auctioning them off to people. You can have the keg that we drank from.
It's not bad. I was going to pour one out to the keg the other night, but we didn't have enough beer left, so I couldn't spare any to pour out. We had to run out.
That was it. So it's back to the cans for tonight, and I figured I'm going to start today's show off with Stone Cold Steve Austin's own. You know, he's been helping us out. He gifted us that voiceover that he recorded specifically for us since we didn't have cans to open. I'm drinking a Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skull IPA, available from El Segundo Brewing Company.
Looks pretty good.
It's pretty damn good. You want some? It's an IPA.
No,
it's
not good.
Okay. Well, anyways, I'm starting the show off with that, so.
Cheers.
Might be pretty good after this one. That being said, we had Casey Anthony Part 2, which seemed to, the Casey Anthony series seemed to go over very well. We had Casey Anthony Part 2 recorded prior to the Super Bowl. We did not get a chance to talk about the Savior, the greatest of all time, reclaiming his throne for the 7th time, Mr. Tom Brady, Super Bowl champion.
Oh, boy. Mike's been sucking Brady's nutsack for 2 weeks, so now y'all get to hear him talk about it. Finally, he's been waiting for 2 weeks.
I believe if you go back in the archives to March of 2020, when Tom first signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were near the bottom of the barrel at the time, I said on this show, Tampa Bay just won the next Super Bowl. And in fact, Tampa Bay just won the next Super Bowl. Excuse me, Tampa Bay.
You called it.
It's not really calling, though, when you're talking about literally the greatest athlete of all time.
So it was a foregone conclusion in your mind.
Why would you bet against Tom Brady?
Did you put any money down in Vegas on those early odds?
I'm not a gambler, Dave.
Oh, okay.
I spend enough money on my booze and my weeds.
Your weeds.
My weeds.
We saw your search history last week, pal. We know.
That's right. I vaguely remember any of that conversation. Hashtag toasted.
What was it? Was doing a weed one time can kill you or something?
There's a lot of them.
I honest to God have no recollection of that, but that's awesome. Doing a weed. That might be a shirt. Doing a weed. Hi, sir. Yes, I'll have one weed. It's like when Larry David buys weed for his dad on the street. He's all nervous about it. Damn it, Ian, watch Curb Your Enthusiasm so you get this shit. So anyways, I won't harp on it. We already tried doing that in a different show that got kicked to a bonus show. But anyways, congratulations to Mr. Tom Brady, the greatest professional athlete of all time. We talked about the keg being tapped.
Sure. What else you got?
New one coming soon. Have a bit of an announcement for Patreon.
Really?
This might be one that interests people. Starting in March, early March, we are going to be doing a show called The Monthly Cooldown. And the monthly cooldown is going to be available to all patrons. That includes the $10 patrons, the $5 patrons, and I'm going to take a pee break. And the $1 patrons. So if you sign up to be a patron for $1 or more, you are going to get a monthly show called the Monthly Cooldown. If you're a $5 patron, $10 patron, you're still going to have all of your perks that are, that you're entitled to at your tiers. But $1 and up, a monthly cooldown where we are going to recap the last month of shows. So this episode, I think the first one will probably come out, and bear with us as we kind of work through the kinks of getting it figured out. But it'll come out in early March. We are going to look back at the shows we did in February, talk about them, give some final thoughts, bullshit about them a little bit, and give you patrons a sneak peek of what is anticipated to come out in March. It is all tentative, and our card is subject to change as we go through it, but we will give you a sneak peek of what you might expect on our Sunday shows and maybe even our bonus shows throughout March. And that will be available to all patrons, $1 level, tier, and up.
Wow. That's exciting.
It's pretty damn good.
I mean, it's in direct response to, feedback from fans. So I'm just trying to...
Probably giving too much if you ask me, but hey.
Trying to do what people ask for,
So you're going to get a whole extra bonus show a month if you're a $1 patron or more. That's pretty damn good. So we're looking to record that episode sometime next week after we have all the shows for February recorded so that we can sum them all up, wrap them up, discuss them a little bit more. And, of course, that will include kind of wrapping up Casey Anthony as well, because we got into that in February.
Mike, how are you going to remember the shows that happened in February that late in the month?
I won't remember a damn thing, but
Are you going to be able to participate in the show?
Just kind of spitball it.
Okay.
Maybe I'll be in charge of telling them what's to come for March.
We'll be the look back guys. You'll be the look forward guy.
There you go.
Okay.
So anyways, it'll just be something simple. It's not going to be a long show. Just, something quick we'll throw out that will recap the last month and give you a little bit of a preview for what's to come. I know people are always interested in what might be coming up on the show. And again, we try our best to stick to a schedule, but sometimes, shit happens and things change. But we'll at least give you a little sneak peek of what to expect. So that will be starting in March for patrons $1 and up. Coming soon.
Good stuff. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. All right, I've spoken a lot.
Thanks for doing that.
For this intro. I know. I single-handedly will be handling, doing all this.
That's great.
Ian, we got a little bit of a different serial killer here tonight.
Yeah, tonight we are going to be talking about Hadden Clark. Like you said, he's different from our other serial killer episodes. A lot of Hadden's victims are just claimed by him, and there isn't concrete proof that he had a part in the murders. A couple of them we'll see in part 2. He just gives, he has some odd details that law enforcement held close to the vest for a long time that made them think he might have something here, but they didn't. It's not concrete enough. And we're going to see the way he escalates. Seems like there's some more to him. He was convicted of 2 murders. So the way that the story is going to go is we're not going to talk about the claimed murders until he actually claimed them, even though one of them dates back to him being 14 years old.
God damn.
I'm sure no one will be confused with the timeline.
I'm going to try
Sounds
really
very
hard not
straightforward.
I'm going to try real hard to make this all sound like makes sense and wrap it up nice next week.
I'm with you. I was talking about Mikey and not the listeners.
Oh.
I'm already confused.
So Hadden Irving Clark was born July 31st, 1952 in Troy, New York, to father Hadden Sr. and Flavia, who went by the nickname Fliver.
Oh, okay.
Flavia Flav.
Boy!
He was their second child, having an older brother, Bradfield, a younger brother, Jeff, and the youngest was a sister named Allison. Almost none of this story takes place in New York. Almost all of it takes place in Rockville, Maryland.
Is that his Christian name, Ian? Hadden?
Yes.
His born name, so it's not a nickname. Ian, Nancy Grace here. Did you know that that's the nickname my family gave me, Hadden?
Oh, yeah?
Because years after Casey's trial, I still hadn't stopped talking about Tot Mom.
Who invites this lady back every week? Good grief.
Top Mom. Sorry, I was trying to segue,
Look us up on
from last week.
Look us up on social media. Hashtag Top Mom. Check out Nancy Grace did a video for us on YouTube.
That was pretty good.
She sent us a little opening for Casey Anthony Part 2. YouTube.com/Necronomipod. Check out that video.
She did a great job introing the show, I thought.
I thought so.
By all accounts, Flivver and Hadden Sr. came from well-established families with no issues. Flivver was able to trace her lineage back to the voyage of the Mayflower and had direct descendants who were heroes in the Revolutionary War. Hadden's grandfather, on his father's side, served as an elected Republican mayor of White Plains, New York. But when these two got together and had kids, it's something about the gene mixture of Flivver and Hadden Sr. just caused them to create a family of monsters. Besides the daughter, Allison, she's the only one that was normal.
I wonder if that's common.
Well, I think a lot of the shit we're about to get into with this family probably didn't help the situation.
Like a little nurture, a little nature kind of combined in this scenario.
I think so.
Scenario. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, of course, scenario. Fancy.
I'm just wondering if there's certain genes
That was a Patreon joke. No one's going to get.
the certain, gene pools that when pushed together like that create kind of
I'm not
one-off people that
I'm
have.
not saying that's wrong, but I'm also saying that the environment these kids grew up in, like when you're seeing, get to it, but when you're seeing that kind of violence,
Sure.
And you're being treated probably poorly.
Would one without the other have had the same effect, I guess? Or both nature and nurture needed to produce the outcome we're about to talk about?
These are things we want you all to ponder as we get to these two-part series.
Hadden Sr. worked as a scientist, helping to develop household items like plastic wrap and fire-resistant carpet. The only issue is that he worked as a contractor. So even though he perfected these products, like basically, from what I read, invented plastic wrap, like was a very big hand in inventing plastic wrap. He didn't see any of the money outside of the contract. And that's no one's fault but his own for signing bad deals, but he was extremely bitter about it. He resorted to drinking heavily, and Flivver was also a heavy alcoholic. This bitterness about work came home with Hadden Sr., and he and Flivver would get into regular drunken physical fights in front of the kids, and it was a very abusive household in that respect. For whatever reason in these type of families, it seems like one child gets the abuse taken out on them, while the others are just witnesses to it. Like the first thing that popped in my mind with that is the Netflix documentary series, The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez. Like that kid, I mean, that's an extreme amount of abuse in that, but that kid got it all poured on him while the other two kids were just witnesses to it.
I know that story. I can't watch that. There's no way I can watch that. Have you watched it?
Yeah, that's the only thing I've ever watched that I really felt like, I don't know, there's a couple parts in it where I felt like I got that punch in the gut feeling.
Yeah.
In this situation, the abuse was all laid onto Hadden, but it wasn't all physical abuse. The physical abuse didn't help later in life for Hadden, but the psychological abuse plays a major role in how he turned out. As far as Hadden Sr. was concerned, he would beat Hadden on the regular, but it was a weird beating, like when Hadden least expected it. Typically, he would wait while Hadden was taking a shower, and when Hadden got out, he would surprise him and beat him with a belt. And we're going to use this word because it's going to play a huge turning point later on in the story. But his father called him the retard more than he called him by his name. So much so that Hadden thought that it was a part of his real name.
Wow, that's rough. Can you imagine?
That's some trauma.
Oh, it is.
Flivver was all the psychological abuse. Flivver and Hadden Sr. really wanted to have a girl, to the point that when Flivver was pregnant with Hadden, they had a name picked out, Kristen. When Hadden was born, he was a huge disappointment, but Flivver didn't stop wanting a daughter named Kristen. Flivver would get extremely drunk and dress Hadden as a girl, down to his underwear, and call him Kristen. This was a regular thing, so now he's further losing his identity from Hadden. He already thought the name retard was a part of his regular name, and now he's referred to as Kristen almost more than he's referred to as Hadden.
So you have a dad calling you retard all the time, and you have a mom calling you Kristen and dressing you like a girl.
Right.
Not much of a chance at this point.
In the dressing up like a girl is something that pops up in a lot of bigger serial killers. Like there's something that happens when there's bad genes, abuse, and dressing these guys up as girls when they don't want to be dressed up like girls. It shows up in Henry Lee Lucas, Charles Manson, and by family accounts with Ted Bundy.
So like when you say like bad genes, like do you recommend people wear Levi's or Wrangler or like, I mean, what do you recommend would be good jeans? Let's go to like Kohl's and get your generic jeans. What were the big baggy ones everyone wore in the 90s and early
Jinko
2000s?
jeans?
Yeah. Get some of those. Do they still make those? They've got to.
Jenko? Is that what you
I
said?
would consider
Jenko?
those bad jeans. Those would be bad jeans.
Probably so. I am also, fun fact about me, and again, my job is to derail the story all the time. I am the pickiest jean buyer in the world. I will try on 15 pairs before I pick ones that I like. Not that I'm a snob.
Good to know.
I'm just very, I don't know, I'm picky about what I wear. The end.
I wear jeans like twice a year because I don't go anywhere.
Yeah, I also don't wear them all the time, especially with fucking, with the pandemic. Like, no one's going anywhere. Been wearing out my sweatpants. But I have 2 pairs of jeans, and I think I've had those same 2 pair for at least 6 years now.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah. The end.
What was the Dre lyric? I've been in the writing rap tunes back since the Honeys was wearing Sassoon. Sassoon jeans in the 80s.
All right. Well, if the Honeys were wearing them, though, they might have looked all right. They might have looked Me Gusta.
That's from California Love. Back since the Honeys
that the
was
line? Is
wearing
that what
Sassoon.
All right. So we've established good jeans and bad jeans. Got it. Some of them make you a serial killer. Don't wear Jenko.
This whole Kristen thing also had a lasting impact on Hadden to this day. Kristen became this sort of alter ego for him. When he put on women's clothing, he became Kristen Bluefin. And Kristen has a mind of her own, or so Hadden claims.
Probably an OnlyFans account too, huh?
He's not Hadden anymore when he puts on women's clothes. He's now Kristen Bluefin.
It's a cool name.
Yeah, it's not.
Makes me think of sushi. Bluefin.
Damn. Why you got to bring up food? Now fucking be thinking about sushi the next 2 hours of the show. Ian, you just had sushi this week.
I did.
You might have overindulged a little bit.
I felt like I was going to die after how much I ate.
How'd he die? OD'd on sushi.
The only positivity Hadden got in life was his teddy bear when he was taken to a Baptist church or when he went to visit his grandparents. Because like we said, the rest of the family on the mother's and father's side were perfectly normal. As far as church went, to show his enthusiasm, Hadden would sing church songs as loud as he could and at a super high pitched range. And this is something that he still does to this day, just sings these songs at the top of his lungs.
We should hire this guy to sing the Bible Babble theme song, maybe.
There you go.
Probably do a good job at it.
Yeah, we'll get him on Cameo.
According to Fliver, Hadden had mild brain damage due to the doctor using forceps too hard while pulling Hadden out during birth. It's not clear if this is true or not, but Hadden did have some significant cognitive issues. As a child, he was very behind in saying full sentences, like significantly behind. We're talking like first, second grade, forming sentences.
Mike and I are usually significantly behind in forming full sentences by the end of the show, so I know how he feels.
Anyone who listens to me try to read the Patreon shout-outs, you would understand I can't even get 2 words out.
Fliver and Hadden Sr. took him to some specialists, but didn't truly follow up on getting him help. Hadden also couldn't walk on patterned carpet. There was something about patterns that threw off his brain, like almost like a vertigo kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
He would trip and fall if he tried walking on something that had patterns, like he just completely lost balance. Instead of trying to get him help, figure out why patterns, what was wrong here, Fliver would just wrap his head in a layer of bubble wrap and send him out in the world.
Yeah, you're setting him up for success.
Jeez. I've never heard of the pattern thing. That's interesting.
So this is not quite related because I was pretty intoxicated, but You ever try walking down a hotel hallway where it's got those funky patterns on the floor, the carpet, when you're shit-faced? I am literally a ping pong ball off the walls. That carpet mixed with the alcohol fucks me up.
Interesting.
It's rough because it's a narrow hallway,
right?
And you're if you're shit bombed, and then the carpet's always, it's hotel carpet. Oh, it messes with me. I don't know why I look at it. I should just look up, but I don't.
I suspect you'd be doing the same thing if there was no pattern on the carpet. That would be my guess.
I don't know. But the carpet just adds to it. It just makes you dizzy. Like I can't explain it. But no, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, probably be falling a little bit, but I don't know. I'm a ping pong ball when it's that carpet.
Between the bubble wrap being wrapped around his head and not being able to form sentences, this made Hadden easy for bullies. But it wasn't just a bully situation for Hadden. Hadden was just generally violent towards kids, and most of them were scared of him. As for his two brothers, they were just complete heathens. Like, remember back in our Joseph Callinger episode how all of his kids were like... all his kids were just mini criminals. Well, he encouraged it, but
was Callinger the one that committed the crimes with his kids?
Yeah.
You guys
like he would take them out
trivia.
specifically to do that with them.
That's right.
This was exactly the situation with the Clark brothers. They were all just absolute terrors to deal with. But when Hadden was bullied, which was often, he realized that revenge was the best thing to make him feel better. And this is something that's going to carry well on to this story. If someone bullied him, he would kidnap their pet, like a dog or cat. He would kill it, and then a couple of days later, leave it on their front porch.
Yikes. We just pissed off a lot of listeners with that comment.
That's pretty deep on the revenge there.
As a kid, going to that level of revenge, Oddly, because, we talk about with serial killers a lot, and a lot of them kill animals as a child. But aside from the revenge stuff, Hadden was relatively good with other animals. He would catch random animals like skunks and turtles and built almost like this mini zoo. Like, the turnover rate for survival wasn't great for these animals, but he still tried to take care of them. Like, he wasn't purposely killing them. His favorite animal that he caught was a baby raccoon, and he found a hurt one and nursed it back to health. And when it got healthy, he would take this raccoon around town with him. And when he rode his bike, he'd have this raccoon hanging off his shoulder or like the back of his neck.
Like Ian going up to Speedway gas station to get fucking smokes with his little infatuation with all his raccoon pals he sees at the dumpster every night at 2:30 in the morning.
I know. I thought about it. I was like, I could just pull up the Speedway, say, "Hey, pal, jump on my shoulder real quick. Let's go inside and get warm for a minute."
Yeah, you can buy him like a Slim Jim or something just to feed his belly. It's cold winter nights, man. Like I'm just saying, if the apocalypse came, Armageddon, Ian rolls up with a army of raccoons. You're not fucking with them. Who's gonna fuck with them? No, right. You're not. I'm just saying that might be the way to go. He might have us all outsmarted here.
That's one thing I will never fuck around with a raccoon.
No, those things are terrifying little fucks.
There was one night I forgot to take out a bag of garbage, so it was like really late, and I went out to go do it, and there was two already at my garbage, and they were all angry with each other about who's getting what, and I'm like, you know what, you guys fight it out. I'm gonna wait for this bag till next week.
This is all you guys. I'm fucking out. I don't need this shit. Yikes.
Hadden also didn't do well in school. The family moved a lot due to Hadden Sr. taking on those contract jobs. So Hadden went from public schools to private schools, and he was held back a few times. So he ended up not graduating high school until he was 20 years old. Like how Jerry Bruto started stealing women's shoes in his teenage years, Hadden started doing similar things. His first escalation was when a woman in their neighborhood hired him to cut their grass. She went out to the store while he was cutting it, and she came home to find Hadden in her bedroom wearing her nightgown. Hadden also started to steal his mother's lingerie to wear and his sister Allison's dolls.
Well, when you're a little kid and your mom calls you Kristen and dresses you up in girls' panties and clothes, I feel like this at the very least might be what you do.
And what do you tell the neighbor when she comes home and you're standing in her bedroom wearing her Nightgown. Are you just like, you got me? I don't know.
You look like a raccoon, like in the headlights. Like, uh-oh, scurry away. Do you go back out and finish the lawn at that point?
Yeah, right.
Like,
Was
what do
he
you
done?
do? Like, you just go home?
Like, all right, you can. This is a gratis job if you don't mention anyone about the nightgown.
At 20 years old, when Hadden graduated high school, he found something that he was good at and loved to do, which was cooking food.
Hey, just like Mike, have you ever had his pizza roll recipe? It's perfection, Ian.
Yeah.
Fun fact, I make the best chili dogs and the best pizza rolls.
There you go.
I can also make a dynamite Hot Pocket. I know you're not a fan, Dave, but I'll make you one day.
Looking forward to it.
I also can pick up a mean takeout. I'm the best in the business at picking up takeout.
That you are.
Yeah.
That you are. Nobody better.
You know what I do sometimes when I order pizza? This is for real. Turn on the heated seats when you put the pizza on it. Keeps it warm. Keeps it warm the whole way home.
There you go.
I just blew people's minds. Or they're like, hey, fucko, everyone does that. You're a piece of shit. Shut up and let Ian tell his story.
Using their connections and considerable wealth, Flivver pulled off getting Hadden accepted into the Culinary Institute of America. This is one of the top culinary schools in the world. When I was looking into it, I was just taking a look at who graduated from there. And the ones that popped out to me were Anthony Bourdain and the hometown hero of ours, Michael Simon.
There you go. Fun fact, Michael Simon went to the same high school as Mike and I.
Boom.
Oh, yeah?
How about that?
I think he graduated in between us. I'm not making a joke. I'm talking for real.
He graduated before I did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think so.
And Anthony Bourdain, maybe the coolest human being that's ever lived.
I agree. He was a cool motherfucker, that guy.
He did everything.
Yeah. Way cool.
I didn't know a lot about him till after he passed away. I didn't watch his show or anything. I wish I would have. And then there's still reruns
I
on,
used
but
to.
like that guy, so cultured.
Mm-hmm.
He knew his food. He knew drink. He fucking wrote books, traveled the world, had an awesome salt and pepper hair. Mm-hmm. What a cool guy.
Yep.
Yeah, I love watching his show. You just
Me too.
go eat some awesome food, smoke a bunch of cigarettes, and drink.
And just travel the country and like learn about cultures and hang out with people. And goddamn,
The coolest.
like a modern day Renaissance man.
We'll pour one out to him tonight. We got the extra beer tonight. We can afford to pour one out.
We could. So you got Michael Simon, well-respected chef.
Do people know who Michael Simon are? I know he's famous in Cleveland, but I don't know.
He was on some of those, like what'd you say, the Iron Chef?
He's the Iron
shows.
Chef, yeah.
He's been on like
I
the
guess
Food
a lot of
Network.
people know who he is. Yeah.
Michael Simon. Anyways, look him up, Simon. He's got a few restaurants around the Cleveland area, probably other places too. I'm not even sure. He's no Anthony Bourdain, but
Yeah.
I mean, when I was looking at the alumni, like it was a list of the notable alumni from there. There were faces that I recognized off of TV. I just never knew their names, but there was a good chunk of very well-known chefs came out of that school. So it's Anthony Bourdain, Michael Simon, and Hadden Clark.
there you go. The Mount Rushmore of the Culinary Institute of America.
Hadden actually did really well with schooling, and he had a real talent for decorative ice sculptures. The only incident that is known from his time there was someone made Hadden angry, so he pissed in a big pot of mashed potatoes.
Who among us has not done that?
Also, while at culinary school, Hadden became oddly obsessed with knives, and he would keep his collection in a toolbox in his truck and take them everywhere.
I guess as a chef, though, you can get away with that, right?
Tools of the trade.
Yeah.
I think Hadden took it to a little
Oh, I'm sure. I just mean like
level.
Yeah.
Hadden graduated, and because he went to such a prestigious school, he never had issues finding jobs at restaurants. He only had an issue with keeping jobs. Between 1974 and 1982, Hadden was fired from 14 different cooking jobs, but it was never for his cooking abilities. It was always weird shit, like drinking cow's blood in front of people in the kitchen, like just doing really odd shit.
Who's never drank cow's blood in front of people?
I'm not talking just drink, like taking a sip of cow's blood, like straight up chugging cow's blood.
Well, first of all,
in the
Ian, I was
kitchen.
kidding. It's all weird.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like very, very odd behavior.
Yeah.
I've never worked in the food industry. Is that frowned upon? Chugging cow's blood? Maybe it's normal. I don't
My
know.
knowledge of the food industry comes from the movie Waiting, and I will never disrespect my server ever.
Ever.
I don't send anything back. Not that I usually have issues, but you don't do it. And I'm very polite. I try to tip well.
Yep.
Just be a good person, because Waiting might be the biggest horror film of all time. Because that shit fucking happens. You know it does.
Oh, of course it does.
Don't disrespect people who handle your food.
It's not smart.
Unless you're at fast food and they hand you your fucking dollar bills back before your change. And then you fucking jump to the window at them. That's fine.
We got to start playing the goat like in Waiting in the studio.
That movie's great, by the way.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Even though he couldn't hold down a job as a chef through this period of time, he was still getting contract jobs for ice sculptures that made him a ton of money. And like during the 80s when the Olympics came through I think it was in New York, if I remember correctly.
1980 in Lake
Olympics.
Placid, USA hockey team won gold.
So he was commissioned to do ice sculptures for that and got paid a fuck ton of money for it.
Who knew that ice sculpting made a ton of cash?
When you're the best in the business, though.
Yeah. There's a big ice festival in our hometown this weekend here. It's a pretty big deal, apparently. People come from all around to look at the ice sculptures.
They made one of my cock.
Did they?
Yeah. They had to scale it down in size a little bit to make it, fit with the others. So it's only about 3 feet when you go to the festival.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out.
I'm there tomorrow afternoon from noon to 2, just signing autographs, taking pictures with people. You can't see the real thing, but you can see the ice version.
You'll be wearing your gray sweatpants, I assume.
Obviously.
Sure.
Well, what's going to keep you warm in this cold weather? You got to wear gray sweats. No underwear, of course.
Of course not.
Let that armadillo fly free.
By 1982, Fliver and Hadden Sr. finally had enough of each other and got divorced. And since Hadden's mental state was getting to the point where he wasn't being able to get hired anymore, he moved in with Fliver. In March of 1982, Fliver caught Hadden stealing money, and without really any argument happening, Hadden attacked her and beat Fliver pretty bad. He was arrested for this, but the charges were dropped. When Hadden came back to live with Fliver, she sent him out back to live in the barn, and this is where stuff with Hadden starts going off the rails a bit more. He had gone back on keeping animals in his zoo thing, like taking care of them, and now he was killing turtles and arranging their shells around in the barn, like around the area where he slept. And he wasn't cleaning out the shells either. He would just let the turtles rot. So it smelled terrible even from the house. Like people that lived in the area were like, what the fuck is that smell?
I think
and
we
it's
have
Hadden out there with the turtles.
I think we have a comment from Hadden about that.
I like turtles.
He really likes the turtles. Well,
At 29 years old, to try and get some structure to his life, Hadden joined the U.S. Navy and was a below-deck cook. When his shipmates found out he wore women's underwear, they beat him up. Once he was locked in a meat freezer for 3 hours. The Navy tried moving him to new ships, but there were incidents as soon as they found out that he wore women's underwear.
yeah, that's a tough spot.
After a final beating where he suffered a concussion from his head being banged against an aircraft carrier deck and having 2 mental breakdowns off ship, Hadden was given a medical discharge and diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, then moved in with his brother Jeff.
What kind of fucked up stuff do you think he did to their food after they beat his ass?
Yeah,
Probably
Hadden
all
Clark,
kinds of stuff, right?
like the master of revenge.
Yeah, they're beating him up when he's making their dinner that night. Like, that's not smart.
No.
I don't recommend doing that. We'll be right back.
Is there something interfering with your happiness? Something keeping you from achieving your 2020 goals? Let's face it, these are certainly trying times. From being cooped up inside your home to wondering how you're going to pay next month's bills, we're all experiencing some form of stress or strain on our mental health. And for that, BetterHelp is here for us. BetterHelp is an online mental health provider that will assess your needs and match you up with your own licensed professional therapist. The best part? No waiting rooms. That's a pretty big deal if you're as impatient as I am. BetterHelp is a safe and private online environment that will have you communicating with a counselor within the first 24 hours. And once you've begun, you can send your counselor a message at any time always getting a helpful response in a timely manner. You even have the ability to schedule weekly video or phone sessions, all from the comfort of your very own couch. BetterHelp is available worldwide and has a broad range of expertise available, including licensed professional counselors who specialize in depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping, trauma, anger, family conflict, LGBT matters, grief, and self-esteem. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they're currently recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. Not happy with your counselor? No worries. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches and makes it easy and free to change counselors if needed. Remember, everything you share with your BetterHelp counselor is completely confidential. And while it's not a crisis line, it is a convenient, professional, and affordable way to seek the help you deserve. Financial aid is even offered to those who qualify. Want to hear how BetterHelp assisted people just like you? Check out the testimonials posted daily on their site. Look, we here at Necronomipod want you to start living a happier life. So, as a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/necro. Join over 1 million people already taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/necro.
Jeff earned a degree in microbiology at Ohio State University. He married his high school sweetheart and moved back to Maryland to work for the Food and Drug Administration. They had 3 children before the marriage turned ugly and divorce was filed. Jeff was extremely abusive towards his wife and kids, and there were very credible accusations that he molested his children. After the divorce was filed, he had custody of the kids for a bit, but when he got busted for weed, he lost custody and only received partial, and that's when Hadden moved in with him.
Imagine losing custody of your kids for having weed.
Credible threats, credible accusations of that you molest them, but weed's the one that does it.
Right. Of course it is.
Perhaps he was on probation, some kind of strict probation because of the, raping of children. And then the weed put him over the edge. Maybe still not excusable, but I'm just saying maybe it wasn't the only cause. It was the last.
That's a good point.
Straw.
You should Google that, Mike. Is doing the weed one time enough to make me lose my kids?
Or you should Google, does doing a weed make you a pedophile?
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
I think it is, though. I think it's been scientifically
gateway drug.
Yeah, it's a gateway drug to pedophilia.
Yeah, I've heard that.
You take a hit of weed. Hi, I'm Chris Hansen. Why don't you have a seat?
I see you brought the weed with you tonight.
The first murder in the story doesn't come from Hadden, but instead his oldest brother, Bradfield.
Wow, that's a plot twist, Ian. I didn't see that coming.
What?
That's a first.
Said there's something about the genes and in this family.
Jenko, obviously.
Jenko.
I mean, we just talked about Jeff. Jeff has a lot of issues, but between the 3 brothers, you would think in a normal family, someone like Jeff would be like, oh yeah, he's the real bad one. But then Bradfield and Hadden are about to kind of one up each other.
Yeah.
Then how do you explain the sister though? Like if she got out of Dodge and lived a normal life, like how do you explain that?
Maybe she had less abuse because she was the girl.
So we're blaming it more on the abuse then is what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like it's more the abuse than anything. Mm-hmm. That's what I lean towards.
I think it's some of both sometimes. I think it depends on the situation.
I agree. But in a family like this, like, I just don't know how 3 end up to become like pieces of shit. And there's just one that's like, oh, nope, I'm going to live a normal life.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
there's no answers.
Yeah. There's just God, Dave. There's just God.
Let go and let God, Mike. That's what I always say.
I can't wait to release that shirt.
That's what we talk about on Bible Babble every week, every month.
Excuse
me. Let go, let God. Send in your Bible Babble haikus.
He's really looking for those haikus, people. You could just fucking send them in.
We had some good haikus for the show that's coming out soon.
Yeah? And I know they don't even have to be patrons to send them in, right? They just won't get to hear them. They just won't get to hear them.
You won't hear them on the air. Send them in.
Yeah. If you become a $10 tier patron, you can hear them once a month.
Bradfield was thought of as the good Clark brother, like the one that was going to be most successful. He had 2 degrees and was extremely successful as a software specialist, capitalizing on the booming computer industry, and got a job at a company called Timeshare. And he's like like that stereotypical 80s guy like Wall Street guy with the suspenders. Almost like, what's his face from American Psycho.
Yep. Patrick Bateman, yeah.
That's exactly what he's like.
My favorite scene in that whole movie is when they're comparing business cards. That is the best scene. And he's so upset that, what the fuck? I get their names mixed up. When somebody else has a better business card than him and just fucks with him.
The color is bone. So great.
While working at Timeshare, Bradfield started an affair with a married coworker named Patricia Mack. On July 20th, 1984, Patricia accepted a dinner invite from Bradfield and went to his house. Bradfield grilled lamb outside, and then they started drinking heavily. This led to them making out, and when Patricia took off her shirt, Bradfield started to bite her breast. She told him to stop because she didn't want her husband to see any marks, but Bradfield didn't stop, so Patricia slapped him. In retaliation, Bradfield punched her in the face and then bit her nipple off completely.
Oh.
All right, that's enough nipple talk. Moving on.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. All right.
I'm pinching Mike's nipples right now. He's not loving it.
Fuck that, Pally. I'm not going to get in. It's COVID, man. We're 6 feet apart. And 6 feet away from my nipples at all times.
A lot of angry drunks out there. Like, I am the happiest of drunks. I don't get these people that drink and just get so angry. That's not fun.
But, I mean, was he angry initially, or was he just into something really rough and then hurt her, and then she hit him, and then he got pissed? Like, I'm not saying, I'm not excusing what he's doing. Like, no, you don't do that. When she's telling you stop, you stop.
Bradfield then bashed her head against cinder blocks that he used as bookshelves and strangled her unconscious. Then he went for a walk around his neighborhood and smoked a couple cigarettes, leaving Patricia unconscious and severely bleeding on his floor.
Can I just point out that Patrick Bateman would never have used cinder blocks for bookshelves? He had way too much class for any sort of setup like that.
That is very true. That is true.
Unless it was like some trendy thing made of cinder.
Yeah, right.
Also true.
When Bradfield got back, Patricia had pretty much bled out, so he dragged her to the bathroom and then cut off her breast. He went outside and cooked her breast on the grill that he just made the lamb on and ate it. Patricia died at this point, but Bradfield continued by pouring lighter fluid on her genitals and lighting them on fire.
What the fuck is this all about?
This isn't even the guy we're talking about tonight.
Yeah,
this
isn't even the subject.
This isn't who the subject is.
Like, so criminal passion, you're under the influence, situation gets out of hand. Sure. But you don't normally then go cook her, right? Like, there has to be something bubbling up from just under the surface there that all got let go this night.
I feel like every stage takes a step. Like, I don't want you playing with biting my nipple. Okay, now I'm going to bite it off.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to hit you. Now you're going to bang my skull against cinder blocks. And then from there, now I'm going to cut your tit off. Now that you're bleeding to death, I'm going to cook it and I'm going to eat it.
It's wild.
Like, each stage, it just like escalates and escalates.
But all in one night with one person.
Of course.
It's very unusual, I think.
Weird.
I mean, in the typical story of a serial killer, this seems like the ramp up period.
Yeah.
Like, this almost makes you think that this isn't Bradfield's first time doing something like this.
Yeah, you're not eating your first victim that was a crime of passion,
Right, like, where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah.
Imagine, like, this show isn't even about Bradfield. This is just a side note, like, to the story.
How often does that happen? Yeah.
After he was done, Bradfield put Patricia in his bathtub and dismembered her body into 11 parts, then put them into black garbage bags. Then the next night, it seemed like Bradfield was about to do it again. The following night, he had 2 women come over that were interested in dating him. I'm not completely clear how they didn't smell a dead body because Patricia's body was still there. But they did notice the blood stains, and Bradfield told them that it was from a bottle of red wine he spilled, and they just went along with it. Bradfield then started cooking dinner for them, but had to stop because he got sick and went to the bathroom and was loudly vomiting. And after a while of sitting there, the women were like, okay, we're leaving. Like, it's just like uncomfortable throwing up, like really loud. So Bradfield came out and put the bags containing Patricia's body in the trunk of his car.
So was it like a double date with him and 2 girls? Like, he was going to date both of them? It's like
something.
Tinder
That's what it
times
sounded
2?
like. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Like I said, he was like this real, like that 80s successful guy,
Yeah.
Pretty sure Patrick Bateman had a night like that as well, Dave. 2 women.
Yeah, it's true. Don't just look at it, eat it.
And next thing you know, he's chasing you down the hall with an axe.
Pretty soon, the police came to Bradfield's door because Patricia had told coworkers that she was going to his house for dinner, but Bradfield said she never showed up. The police left, but Bradfield still panicked and tried to commit suicide by stabbing himself. He passed out from blood loss, but when he woke up, he called 911. At the hospital, police showed back up and like, hey, we want to talk about Patricia a little more. Because now, like, they go talk to this guy, and then he tries to kill himself right after.
Yeah.
And Bradfield just fully admitted what he had done and told police that her body was in the trunk of his car. And about that whole situation, Bradfield said, quote, "It's definitely the strangest thing that's ever happened to me."
There you go.
That's one way to put it, Pally.
I believe, is Bradfield still alive today in prison?
Yeah, and like I said, that whole scenario, that's
please. Fancy.
That's like the ramp up period. That almost sounds like a serial killer's last go of it, you know? Mm-hmm. Where everything comes together and they just really go off the rails in their final couple murders.
It's a good point.
It does not sound like a guy that's never killed someone before.
Not at all.
Getting back to Hadden living with his brother Jeff said that Hadden was bad when he left for the Navy, like his mental state. But now he was worse. And they kind of attribute it maybe to the trauma of being beat up all the time.
Well, and having your head pounded in probably doesn't help either.
Yeah, and some brain, some head injuries regarding that. But he said it was like he was at the maturity of an 8-year-old. Because of this, Hadden really got along with Jeff's kids and when they came to visit, and the neighborhood kids. Like stories of Hadden chasing other kids away from the playground so Jeff's kids could have it to themselves, and Hadden would drive them around and stuff. Like,
oh, it sounds like a nice Uncle Hadden clearing the playground for me. I don't know. I don't hate that.
As a kid, no, of course.
Things were good for a while with this setup, but for whatever reason, Hadden decided to masturbate in front of the kids. So Jeff told him he had to move out.
Yeah, that would do it.
Well, yeah. Ian, I read it was likely that it wasn't his fault. It seems like he was having a medical issue. It seems he may have been having a stroke.
Oh my gosh. Oh boy.
It's just what I read. It was possible.
That's like an inappropriate dad joke.
It was another one where I was confused if you were really going to give me some good information or if it was going to be something like that.
Sitting across the table from Dave, I knew it was a joke because he had this grin on his face from ear to ear the entire time he was telling it.
Even though Hadden masturbated in front of the kids, Jeff asked him to go pick up his 6-year-old daughter, Elisa, from school.
Oh, well, sure. I mean, why not?
Naturally. Is that Elisa or Eliza?
Elisa. I believe that's how it's pronounced.
Okay.
When Hadden got there, Elisa said she didn't know who he was, so the school called Jeff. When Jeff got there, he told the school, "Don't worry about it. Hadden is just Elisa's retarded uncle."
Oh.
Elisa heard her dad call Hadden a retard, so she started doing it too. This made something click in Hadden's brain back to his revenge thing he used to do to kids' pets that bullied him, and he was going to get revenge against Elisa for bringing back the nickname Hadden Sr. had given him.
Yeah, because by this point, he hadn't been around his dad, right? So that name probably trailed off.
I could see how it could bring it back.
No, and I'm saying, and then you have that trauma that's buried deep.
For sure.
And then now your brother calls you that, and it just like comes to the surface again. Now you got to deal with all that shit. You've already been struggling with like the Kristen thing with your mom.
Oh, yeah.
It's weird. He doesn't, well, obviously, I mean, he's schizophrenic, so that adds a whole different layer to it. But he doesn't blame Jeff for this. He blames Elisa for it, and he's going to get revenge against her. About a week after this, Jeff and his kids weren't home, but Jeff gave Hadden access to the house to get all of his stuff. Hadden was still just as angry at Elisa and trying to figure out how to get revenge against her when Elisa's 6-year-old friend Michelle Dorr walked up looking for her. In that moment, Hadden decided this was the way he was going to get revenge.
Oh, man.
He watched Michelle walk into the house looking for Elisa, and when she was out of sight, he walked around to the back of his truck and pulled out his toolbox of knives. He grabbed a 12-inch long chef's knife and walked back into the house and upstairs. Without any warning, any sound, anything, Hadden threw Michelle to the floor and slashed from right to left across her chest, then went back a second time the other way, almost like Zorro making a Z sign.
Ugh.
He got on top of her, putting his free hand over her mouth, but she bit back real hard, like really bit his hand. This made Hadden very angry, and he just stuck the 12-inch knife straight into her throat. The blood was shooting all over the wooden floor of the bedroom and was leaking down into the lower level. And according to Hadden, he attempted to have sex with the girl's dead body, but when that wasn't working, he moved on to cleaning it up. He got a bunch of trash bags and cleaned up this extremely bloody scene like nothing ever happened. And this is why a lot of law enforcement believe this wasn't his first victim, because the cleanup was so good, and the attempt at having sex with a dead body would seem to be an escalation or something that he had done in the past.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you would think there'd be just some degree of panic if this was your first time doing it, not...
And a child, no less.
Yeah.
He had killed animals,
Yeah.
so he did have something, but to be able to clean it up that well, no panic, and then want to have sex.
Just like his brother, instant
corpse.
escalation.
After cleaning, Hadden threw the body and the bags in the back of his truck because he had to be at his chef's job at the nearby Chevy Chase Country Club in 20 minutes. After Hadden finished his shift at the country club, he stopped off at a nearby hospital to get his hand fixed from where Michelle had bitten him. When he left the hospital, it was nearly midnight.
How do you explain that one? Like the big bite marks at the hospital.
Yeah, right.
I was thinking that too. Like, what do you say?
Who bit, who bit you?
My sister bit me,
Right,
or
right.
a dog bit me. I mean, they're
bit
going to
me.
know if it's a dog bite, probably, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Or do you think that at this time they were just like, whatever, like these people come in all the time, let's just clean them up and get them the fuck out of here?
Probably. And also, there's a group of people out
Could have said
there.
he bit himself too, like self-harm.
That's true. A group of country club people out there who had their meals cooked by this guy that one night while, the garbage bags of the body were outside in his truck.
Yeah, and
kinda
probably
weird.
blood dripping from his hand.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
In all fairness, it might have been the best of meals that people he served that they got. Like, it's only just blood. So you're all right, folks.
Gross, man. Most people probably would never go out to eat again if they knew what went on in the kitchen, right?
Watch Waiting. I'm telling you, it is the best cautionary tale of all time. Do not fuck with people that handle your food.
It's only common sense.
And at the same time, like, you gotta, be smart. These people deal with piece of shit human beings every single day. Of course, they're going to be a little bitter. They're going to be a little angry. They might be having a bad day. They're making fucking piss money while they're serving you and your fat ass while you order extra sauce with your chicken tenders. Like, I've never been a server or worked in the food industry, but I get it. Like, people suck. And now when they think you're serving them, you owe them something. They treat you like more like pieces of shit.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I would have a hard time with that because the first asshole that didn't tip, like, I would punch him right in the fucking head.
But you lose your job then. And
Well, yeah.
like, if you need this job, that's why you go back in the kitchen. You tell fucking Dane Cook, and he puts his taint hair in their food or whatever it is. He spits, just watch the fucking movie, people. You got to watch don't watch it on TV. Watch the unrated or, the full uncut version because it's, whew. Mm-hmm. I don't blame him though. Like, I'd hate life too.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the hardest jobs there is.
Hadden drove towards Baltimore, and when he saw some woods, he pulled over to the shoulder of the road and stopped. He grabbed the duffel bag that Michelle's body was in, a flashlight, and a shovel from the back of the truck, and headed into the woods. At the base of a tree, he dug a grave that was 4 feet long. He took Michelle from the duffel bag, and as he was putting her in the grave, Hadden got the urge to drink her blood. However he did it, it's not completely clear, but he said he drank blood from Michelle before burying her. After she was buried, he got back in his truck and drove to the apartment that he had just recently rented.
Oh, come on, man. It's like a fucking vampire out there in the woods. Fuck.
Yeah, this is where he gets his nickname, the cross-dressing cannibal.
Yeah, that'll do it. Like, imagine just taking a body part.
It's a great band name, though, right?
Vampire Cannibal?
No, the cross-dressing cannibal.
Cross-dressing cannibal.
Not to make light of this situation, but just as a general name. The cross-dressing cannibals, the CDCs.
It's not bad. But it's like a body that's been laying in your truck all day, and then...
Yeah, and it just takes it up a whole level when you're talking about a 6-year-old child, too.
I mean, my God.
being able to do any of this stuff.
Yeah, sure.
When it came to the investigation into the disappearance of Michelle Dorr, her father, Carl, was the last one to see her. Around noon that day, he set up an inflatable pool for Michelle to play in and started watching NASCAR.
No jokes. Move on with the story.
Carl sat there watching NASCAR all day and didn't check on Michelle until around 5:30 p.m. when he walked over to Jeff's to see if she was there. Jeff hadn't seen her, so Carl walked around knocking on neighbors' doors, and now panicking, he went to the police and reported her as missing.
Ian, fucking NASCAR fans, am I right? Jesus Christ, come on.
Just getting hypnotized by watching them go round and round.
First of all, there's no
Left
such
turn,
thing
left
as hypnotism.
Left turn.
Second of all, some NASCAR fans can be responsible. They're like to state publicly that Carl Dorr is not a reflection of NASCAR, its sport, its fans, or its population.
All these left turns, I can't look away. It's so exciting.
Very well could have been on a road course that day, pal. You don't know. Sometimes they do rights.
Carl Dorr quickly became the prime
You couldn't just say
suspect.
that he was watching a race that day, Ian. You had to put in NASCAR. You could have just said he was watching a race.
I'm just stating the facts.
Just saying, a race is also a fact. You could have just said he was watching a race. He was watching motorsports.
But it was specifically a NASCAR race.
Yeah, we got it.
So he became a prime suspect, and he was going through a nasty divorce, and his soon-to-be ex-wife told police that he was trying to get out of paying her $400 a month in child support. And just before this happened, they had a really bad argument where Carl threatened to kidnap Michelle. Like a, I don't know, you're not going to take my kid away from me kind of thing.
Yeah, that's not great.
No. Carl took a lie detector test and passed. Then he took a second lie detector test and passed. And he passed these easily. In an attempt to prove his innocence, he underwent hypnosis and took sodium pentothal, which is truth serum. But none of this convinced police.
He should have told police he was watching a Formula One race, and then he would have known he was a high-class race car fan, not NASCAR.
I love
Might have believed, though.
I love how whenever hypnotism and lie detectors don't go the way police want, they're like, oh, we don't accept this. But when you fail, they're like, motherfucker, we got you. We got you. You failed a lie detector.
That's exactly
You
right.
told us under hypnosis you did it. You know, it's just they use it. That's ridiculous. Yeah, Formula One. He's sitting there drinking his fancy champagne, watching.
In truth, Carl only lied to the police about the last time he had seen Michelle because he was absolutely ashamed of himself for neglecting to check on his daughter in the backyard. He didn't want to admit to police that the last time he saw her was noon, so he told them 2:10 p.m.
And in all fairness, that it's fucking ridiculous of Carl. You're not going to check on your daughter for 5.5 hours. She's 6 years old. I'd be checking on her
crazy.
still every half hour.
Or
just to
every
check.
5 minutes. If she's out in the pool, I mean, come on.
Well, but it was like an inflatable, like blow up thing. Like, you know,
Yes,
I'm
but
thinking.
Come on.
But yeah, you'd be checking on her all the time, not fucking 5.5 hours going by.
What NASCAR race starts at noon anyway?
They used to.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. I wish. So that's actually, Dave, a hot, sensitive subject in the NASCAR
Really?
Because the networks want them all to start at 3 o'clock now because they get that West Coast thing. The traditional NASCAR fans want them back at that noon, 1 o'clock start. Yeah.
I would have thought a hot topic in the community would be whether fucking your first cousin is legal in all 50
We
states.
got rid of
or
all
not.
those fans.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Haven't you smarted up last year with, Bubba Walson? NASCAR's woke now.
Well,
NASCAR's
it's a little woke.
It's getting there. Big improvements. They banned the Confederate flag.
Yeah.
They got Michael Jordan now as a car owner.
I saw that.
Pitbull
Yeah.
is now a car owner.
I saw Pitbull.
Yeah. They're getting there. It's progress from those good old boy days,
I like
at
it.
the very least.
Good for them.
They're trying.
I agree with you guys on Carl. Like I would never do that with my, I would be out there checking all the time, you know, or I probably wouldn't even just go watch TV while
You go sit. It's the perfect time to go sit in the yard and drink some beers and just hang out with your kid.
Get an
watch
extension cord, Carl.
Yeah, that's right. Put on the radio.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing. In the end, they are going in circles.
Yeah.
You can listen to it on the radio. I do it all the time. It's still exciting and fun. Like, you can listen to it as well.
Yeah, I think you can get a pretty good visualization of cars turning left based on the radio feed.
I'm not trying to minimize what they're doing. I'm just saying, I too have listened to the NASCAR races on the radio.
Sure.
You get the same effect. You can go out in your front yard, drink some beers, and make sure your kid doesn't die. Pretty simple.
Agree.
Simple Sunday. And everyone wins, except the 42 other cars that lose. But,
I mean, I don't want to make any excuses for Carl because it's just ridiculous to do. But I mean, this completely destroyed him. The police never let up on him. We're going to get into, their next steps in this investigation, but they didn't let up on him for years. And he had a complete mental break and ended up hospitalized for a very long time. I mean, he generally regrets. It seemed like it was the worst decision he ever made in his life, kind of,
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know how you sit there for 5 hours and not check on your kid, but
he fucked up, and it was terrible. He didn't intentionally do it, but he made a mistake.
Yeah. Even though police were focusing heavy on Carl Dorr, they were asking around the neighborhood for any other potential clues. This led them to the, quote, local weirdo, Hadden Clark. Hadden said that he was in the area that day to feed his brother's rabbits that he raised out in the backyard. He said that he had punched in his time clock at the country club where he worked at 2:46 p.m. that afternoon. And police figured if Carl Dorr said he had last seen his daughter at 2:10 p.m., then Hadden couldn't have found, abducted, or killed someone and hit a body within 36 minutes. But they kept questioning him, asking Hadden about the rabbits and that, were being raised behind his brother's house and his life before moving in with his brother.
So, Ian, in other words, it was a hair-raising tale.
You're on it tonight.
I like to think of Dave like sitting back, reading these notes, writing these jokes, laughing to himself, thinking like, oh yeah, this is a good one.
They gradually began asking him about the children in the neighborhood because, we said he played with the kid. Like he was kind of like one of the neighborhood kids. And Hadden randomly told them a story about how one time when he was playing with the kids, one of his nephews kicked him in the balls. And to get his nephew back, Hadden didn't do anything to his nephew. Instead, he held down one of the neighborhood girls with his full body weight until they screamed to let her up. Like this weird revenge thing against, don't do it against the person that did it to you. Do it towards someone that they would feel, emotionally hurt them. Police jumped on this story and asked if this is what Hadden did to Michelle. Police pulled out a photo of Michelle, and Hadden began rocking back and forth in his chair and wouldn't look at the picture. Hadden then said he was sick and asked to use the bathroom. When he went in the bathroom, he started loudly vomiting, kind of like Bradfield.
Family trait, yeah.
And police came in and started yelling into the stall, "What did you do?" Just like screaming at him while he's puking. This went on for a bit, but in between the throwing up, Hadden said, quote, "I don't remember. I may have done something. Sometimes I black out and do things I don't remember."
Well, now we're on to something. From the police, I'm salivating.
Kind of some sort of admission,
I'm salivating a little bit now from the police.
Hadden was able to regroup and collect himself and stuck to the story he gave police about the time he punched in for work. And the thing about that is that's accurate. He wasn't lying. He really did punch in that time at work. So the police knew there was something really off about him, but his alibi was solid. And according to Carl Dorr, at this time, he had last seen Michelle at 2:10 p.m., so they let Hadden go.
Which was, again, 2 hours actually later than when he actually last saw his daughter.
So he facilitated his alibi and getting him to...
Unintentionally, though.
Unintentionally.
And that's where we will pick back up on part 2.
This is quite the interesting story.
It is.
The brother...
It was just like a
bizarro.
It was like the longest side note we ever went on, but it was just like a awesome, crazy, not awesome, but a crazy story. Yeah.
And part 2, we'll get into Hadden becoming the Rockville Rocket his persona as a local character in Rockville, Maryland. His last confirmed murder, him meeting Jesus in prison, and his claimed murders.
Okay.
Action-packed show next week.
We have a lot of wrap-ups, so I'm going to just jump right in. Ian, you got anything else left to say about Part 1 and Hadden Clark?
He's one of the most interesting killers I've researched so far. I mean, sure, we'll wrap up more on Part 2, but there's something about the whole revenge thing. It's very odd. I can't...
It's different than most of them. Like, they have like a sexual fetish towards it, or, you know, just some... It's weird that it's like revenge, but in a weird way where it's like not directed at the person. Like, they're not actually going at the person that they want to hurt. They're trying to get someone close to them, or a person or a pet close to them.
Like, especially this last one with how he's going to get it back against Elisa for bringing back his old nickname. It's like, I'm sure in his head that revenge made sense to him. Like, this will get back. This will get her back. Like, she'll understand what I did here. But no one would understand why he did that, you know?
Or maybe he has a sense of he can't actually harm someone in his own family. This is the next best thing.
But he was like doing this as a kid, though, right? Like, people who would bully him, he'd go kill their pets.
Yeah.
It's just weird how he sees it that way. Like, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to go get something else. Which is just different, interesting.
It is interesting for sure.
Dave, you got any final thoughts on Part 1?
I'm going to reserve judgment for Part 2 at the end. And yes.
This is a fascinating story.
It is.
And different, like we said at the top, and like Ian said, it's not like most serial killers. Usually by now we have 10, 12, 13 deaths under our belts in Part 1.
Yeah.
He has one and his brother has one.
Yeah.
Literally, there is someone else in the story who has just as many kills as the topic.
It's a bit unusual for the stories.
Not counting, obviously, the turtles.
I like turtles.
Well, who doesn't like turtles? Who doesn't like them?
A lot of turtles. I feel like I underestimated the turtles when we're talking a fuck ton of turtles. It's not just a couple of turtles. He had them surrounding his bed.
Well, it was kind of harebrained of you, don't you think, Ian, when you were writing the outline?
Back to Dave, can you play that clip again, though, of
I like turtles.
exact quote we got from him?
Yeah, that's what he said.
He sent us a quote. It's very kind of him. Okay. All right. A couple shout outs. We got quite a bit of wrap up here. First of all, shout out to Rivalry Brewing, beer distribution company in our hometown of Medina, Ohio, that got in touch with us and sent us some delicious local beers. Shout out to Adam and the guys over there. Very kind of them.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think we'll be in touch with them moving forward.
I think I had a Kolsch the other night. It was quite tasty.
You like your Kolsch's?
I do like the Kolsch.
Yeah, they sent some IPAs, some Kolsch's, and all kinds of good stuff. So thank you to Rivalry Brewing. We appreciate that. Hometown heroes.
Yeah, Adam personally delivered that, right?
I believe so.
He heard me yelling at my kids. my dog was barking all crazy, and I'm yelling at my kids to stop screaming.
Shut the fuck up. Who's on my front porch? What are you doing? I didn't order any beer.
Goddamn. Shut up! Rough night over there at the Necronomipod compound.
He probably delivered that thinking, what the fuck? Because both of my kids were screaming, the dog's barking.
That is fucking awesome. Also, shout out to Hannah, who sent us a badass Loveland, Ohio, home of the Frogmen flag that's going to be going up in one of our studios.
That thing is fucking cool as hell.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think I'm going to claim that.
Yeah. I'll get it over to you and put it up in the studio. That'll be awesome. But thank you very much to Hannah for that. Was that a bonus show that we did?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that's available on Patreon in our archives, patreon.com/Necronomipod, the Loveland, Ohio Frogmen. Also, Ian, you had a pretty big week. Finally, after 13 years, Promised Land episode 1 has dropped.
Yeah.
Wow.
Finally came out.
Yeah.
The feedback has been phenomenal.
People are loving it.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it so far.
Yeah.
Everybody's been pretty nice about it and seem to like it, so.
I'm creating a fake iTunes account right now to log in and leave a bad 1-star review.
We don't want
Right now, I got all fives right now. Don't fuck it up.
we can't let his head get too big, Dave. He'll fucking ditch us and go solo on us.
Yeah, that's like all the feedback's been awesome. I saw a couple comments saying that they hope I don't just ditch out on Necronomipod and do my own thing. That's never going to happen. So nobody has to worry about that.
I don't think Ian wants to put in all that work to do 10 part episodes. I mean, I guess he could do
Absolutely
single
not.
episodes by himself. But, you know,
No, I will never do a solo thing again. This is just
gonna fucking
a
pull
passion project for Jonestown. That's
Ozzy
it.
Osbourne on us and just leave and go do his own thing. And Dave and I'll be fucking Black Sabbath here and just find a new lead singer, I guess.
Doing it yourself, it's harder than you think, man. I was struggling a little bit with coming up with Bible Babble this month.
Well, see, that's the problem. You guys both signed up for individual solo
It
projects.
sounds
and
easier than it actually is.
Why the
though.
fuck do you think I sit here quietly when it comes time for like, oh, I will sign up for this? Nope, I won't. I will. I'm happy to help and co-star on an episode with you guys. I will not be the
All right.
the lead.
Fair
the
enough.
Lead in anything.
Fair enough.
But anyways,
yeah, thanks for everybody thanks to everybody that downloaded it and stuck around and waited 13 years for it to drop. I don't know how many episodes it's going to be. I thought 10 or 12, but I have no idea. I'm just going to go till the story's done and we'll see what happens.
well, you know what? It's a free podcast, and so if they want to bitch, they can bitch, but it's free. So take it, people, enjoy it, and learn from it because Ian puts a lot of work into it, and you did a great job. And also kudos to Dave. Promised Land, the first episode was phenomenal. So you guys both did as much pressure as you put on yourself. You both did a great job with your inaugural episodes.
What did I do with Promised Land?
I'm sorry, with the Bible Babble.
Okay.
Apologies. Sorry, I got too much in my brain. Also, alcohol. The first Bible Babble was fantastic for those of you $10 tier patrons. It was really good. And the first Promised Land was really good. So you guys put a lot of pressure on yourselves, but you do well.
Thanks, man. You're all right, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't care what Ian says about you when you're in the pee, when you're on your pee breaks.
Probably a lot. He's like, this fucking guy spent all week working on these outlines and he's peeing 15 times. Fuck this motherfucker. So anyways, there's a new Bible Babble coming out for the $10 tier patrons before the end of the month, probably this next week.
Next couple days, sure.
And there'll be a new Promised Land next week for everybody. So
Exciting times, friends. Exciting times.
check them out.
And the new cooldown show that you talked about at the beginning of the episode.
Yep. For every patron, including the $1 tier. So if you're not a patron, sign up.
You don't get much for $1 anymore. This might be the best
this
dollar
point,
deal in the history of dollars.
All they've been getting is a shout out. Now they're going to get a whole show.
Pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. And the show is a sneak peek at what's to come. People want to know what we're doing.
People demand to know, Mike.
I've seen people complaining that they don't know what's coming up. And mostly it's because we don't know what the fuck's coming up. But we're going to try to give you our best shout out or the best look at what's coming up next. I mean, we change it a lot, right?
Well, of course.
How many times we
Gotta
update
keep it real.
We're like, well, let's move this. Let's move that.
Yeah. It's dynamic.
Any hoodles. That's enough of that. 2 make goods for names I fucked up on Patreon or names I forgot. Shout out to Jenny Riccardi and Cunty McCuntlips.
Cunty McCuntlips.
That is correct.
Interesting choice of names, Cunty.
I don't think I messed up that name.
I think Cunty was very concerned that you left him out and he didn't get his shout out, and he really wanted to hear Cunty McCuntlips said on the show. So
There it is.
now you've done it.
There it is.
Cunty McCuntlips. Do you think prospective employers, when he writes that down, does he get a lot of callbacks? They're like, oh, hello, Cunty. Is Mr. McCuntlips in?
I mean, if you're in the porn business, you're calling that number first, right? Like, I want that one.
Hello, Cunty. We've got a job opportunity for you.
Can you imagine Art Bell? East of the Rockies, you're on the air. What's your name? Cunty McCuntlips? Click. Gone. Art wouldn't fuck around with that.
No, he would not like that.
No, he'd be upset. First time caller line, you're on the air.
Hi, this is Cunty McCuntlips. I'm flying over
Deal.
Area 51 in my homemade plane.
That's still the best call of all time. Is it not? Is the Area 51 not the best call? When Art's like, oh, sir, I wouldn't do that. He's all like serious.
It's definitely in the top 3.
Yeah. You're making a miscalculation.
Yeah, I don't recommend you do that, sir.
You're making a grave miscalculation. Oh, man. I can't wait till we do our
He's like he goes, they're turning on the spotlights or whatever. He's like, he's like, they got sirens going off there. And Art's like, I wouldn't be surprised.
And then I like when the call drops off, Art's seriousness. He's like, oh my. I don't know what we just
I don't know what we heard there.
in between like puffs of his Pall Malls, like 120s, whatever he was smoking.
Those long ass cigarettes.
Yeah, that's why they're 120s. Mm-hmm. Virginia Slims, maybe.
Virginia Slims.
All right, anyways. So, Cunty, Jenny, there you go. If I
Wait,
mentioned
were you calling Jenny Cunty Jenny, or were you saying Jenny, comma Cunty?
Cunty and Jenny,
okay.
the two shout outs.
Well, grammar counts. I just want to make sure
understand.
you weren't calling Jenny a cunty.
No, of course not. I would never.
Sorry, Jenny. I just had to clarify.
I mentioned this on the bonus show this past week, but for any new patrons, if because we might get a lot that are signing up with this new bonus show we're giving them with the cooldown show.
Cooldown show.
What do we fucking call it? Monthly cooldown.
Monthly cooldown.
If I fuck up your name, which I'm very likely to do because I don't see the names, they're presented to me literally as we're recording live, and then I get fucking shit-faced, and then I have to read these names. If I mess up your name, DM us on Patreon with the phonetic spelling, and I am happy to make it right.
He's not happy because he calls you all kinds of names off the air, but he'll do it.
I'll probably call you Cunty McCuntlips off the air, but no. In all fairness, you're paying. It's your right. I should say your name correctly, and if I get it wrong, let me know, and I will make it right. I promise you, it does not upset me, so do not hesitate if I fuck up your name. I'm saying all of that because I have about 72 names to read because it's been 2 weeks since we've recorded. I'm not joking when I say I have 72 names I think to read. So, do we go into that now? I guess we do, right?
Unless you want to do something else.
No, I think this is the part where I read these names. We've got a lot to read here. Hold on. Let me pull them up. Okay. Oh, boy. Bear with me. Swig of beer.
Bob Jones. Oh, no, Mike, that's Bob Jones. Bob Jones.
Okay. Got it. New patrons. Thank you very much to Brennan Thornhill, Britt McKay, Brizette Maribel, Katie, Jennifer Austin, Tasha, Cody Wooten. I feel like I've read Cody Wooten's name a couple times. Anyways, welcome back, Cody. Jaden Thomas, Natalie Matson, Jennifer C. Smith, Matt Bubb, Jared Davis, Kelly Harris, Cash, Jules, Caitlin Oruska, Rachel Vandenberg, Jamie McKay, Katie Hansen, Jen Hewitt, probably Jennifer Love Hewitt. I think she listens to the show.
I'm sure she does.
Hey, shout out.
Hey, Jenny.
Love that show where you were the masseuse that gave specialties.
What was that?
I'll have to look that up after. Remind me. Jen Hewitt, Lauren Pardo, Michael Shields, Eva Butler, Brittany Mumaw, Tim Oist, Claudia Sanchez, Kristen K. Spencer, Jessica Bartush, Kobe Berg, Heather Wells, Amy Spink, Amber Corinne, Kim, Kristen Naley, Alaska Instagram Guy, Lauren Sharp, Steven, Amy Bottomley, Sabrina Aguayo, Butt Stuffers, Nikki Shelton, Amy Garney, Jose Robles, Matthew Shaw, Brianna, Lindsay Wynat, Amanda, Kaylee Bearden, Brittany, Vicente Void, Amber Keith, Link Morris, Tegan, El Nind, Carissa Campbell, Gisele, Robbie Nalker, Eddie Cooper, Paigey Poo, Jennifer Kleinhens, Adventurin' Everyone Pod, Maiden of Mischief, Katriana Gregor, Ashley Jaco, A. Holland, Carrie Gilbert, Kimberly Scott, Julie, Ryan London, Madison Justice, Kathy Sanders, and Nummer Judiotsu. Thank you guys very much. I know it was a lot of names to read, but it's been a couple of weeks since we actually recorded in the studio. We appreciate it. We are at patreon.com/Necronomipod. And remember, starting next month in March, we're going to give the even $1 patrons a bonus show recapping the last month and giving you a look ahead at what's to come. Patreon.com/Necronomipod. We appreciate it.
I said there was a butt stuffer, a new patron. Is College Mike travel to the future to join Patreon?
Nope, this is a new butt stuffer.
Okay.
Up and coming butt stuffer.
All right.
Up and coming butt stuffer. Ian, what do we got?
For iTunes, I have one for Goblin 8 Unicorn, Jackie R267, Caitlin Panette, A. LeGuine, The Real Mr. Muggs, Dom Satarpan, Chloe Michaela, Hardman 679.
That was probably me. Oops, sorry.
Gerald Gerdes, Anthony Thomason, King Daniel 323, Green Window, Tony Nurse, Chicken Daddy 4, Jen Stinnett,
God damn, we got a lot of good reviews.
Oh, it's cool.
and Zombie Me Too. Thank you guys for the awesome reviews.
Thank you all very much. That's awesome. Dave, what do you got?
We have one review today to discuss in Bad Review Corner. This is from my Ubers here. It's titled Dude Bros Got a Podcast.
Dude bros.
Dude Bros.
Are we dude bros?
I don't think so. Too much banter and not enough substance. I felt like I was listening to a bunch of dude bros in a locker room. If you are into misogynistic and high school sexual references, this is the pod for you. I unsubscribed. If I wanted to listen to high school boys' locker room talk, I'd go back to high school. I mean, I think the dude bro stuff is done in irony. I don't think we're really doing a dude bro show here, right?
And imagine if just like joking and talking about sex all automatically makes you a misogynist. Like you can't even talk about sex anymore.
Yeah, I think this audience is 80% female, and I think they understand that there's not really misogyny going on here. So I reject my Uber.
I think the satire about the college nicknames and things like that are lost on a few of these people.
Yeah,
that
I think you're
leave
right.
the 1-star reviews. I think
But that's
take
what I mean,
A little
like-
too serious.
Yeah.
Like because I'm making jokes about heterosexually sleeping with women, now we're misogynists.
Apparently, Mike.
Guess so. That's fine.
Just telling it how it is.
The misogynist one always just annoys me. Like, I don't know. People just don't get our humor, I guess. Like, they're just morons, which is fine. Not everyone can be as sophisticated as us and our listeners.
It's true. Absolutely.
Meanwhile, like
High
you
class.
said, Dave, what our audience is 80% female.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. Clearly, they're not offended.
No. Once in a while, maybe, but they get over it.
And then we also edit out the stuff that we say that we shouldn't. But that's just because we're drunk and being stupid.
We're dumbasses
We're
to be
dumb
honest.
men. We're dumb men who need to be told better by the superior women. Okay. You guys got anything else?
Fuck no, man. I got nothing.
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week with part 2 of Hadden Clark. We are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at Necronomipod, patreon.com/Necronomipod, and then amazon.com, search Necronomipod for all of our merch. Appreciate all of you listening and reaching out to us. We are, very humbled by the amount of listeners and support that we have had over the last few months. It's grown pretty fantastically the last few months. So thank you all very much, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, you guys ready for a cooldown beer?
Cheers.